Ohio Players, really hard to pronounce if you're an Aussie, but that is the name of the Black Keys 12 album. Safe to say that we're a little bit underwhelmed by Dropout Boogie, which came out a couple of years ago. So the ultimate question, is this really worth your time? Have they flatlined, or is there something interesting for them to say? Hello to you, Al. What was your initial thoughts? Did you think this is worth your time?
I tell you what, they are hard workers, aren't they, the boys from the Black Keys? It feels like only a few moments ago we were reviewing their previous album, but it is in 2022, so it's a few years ago now. However, this album comes in at 44 minutes. My initial take was it probably could have been a 9 or 10 track album to make it a little bit more succinct. I do like the fact that they have some guest artists on this album. They, of course, feature Beck on one of my favourite songs off the album, as well as Noel Gallagher. I don't know what your initial take is, mate, but to me, I reckon they should be heading more in the Banksy direction and just doing shorter, sharper projects, throwing it out rather than these longer LPs, because I'll be a little bit brutal but a bit honest here, mate. Sometimes it's a bit like scrolling through Facebook in terms of the actual full album. It gets a little bit boring here and there, but the particular songs that I liked, and maybe yourself as well, are very, very good. And I would say it's better than their previous album, mate. What's your initial take?
Very similar, right? Like, so Beautiful People Stay High, which the first single came out in January. A little bit underwhelmed. It reminded me of Wild Child, which is the single off the previous album. I feel as like that they could do that particular song any day of the week. They can do that in their sleep. Yeah. They're very good at the sort of the single. They've been around for a while now. But I did think that with the collaborators on this one, so you got Gallagher, you got Beck, I think that they brought something to the table here. And you've also got a couple of rappers there. So Juicy J and Lil Noid were also on a couple of tracks. I think that they did bring things to the mix. And the songs that had elements of soul, I mean, there was other ones where that was more sort of classic rock leanings. I thought they were very good. But in I sense, I mean, I do rabbit on about 44-minute albums that they go a bit long, and I feel as if 35 is about the right length of an album. I felt the same way, that if they got rid of a couple of tracks, it would be, I guess, far more interesting, and you'd be more inclined to give it a couple of listens. But having said that, I enjoyed the tunes. But Al, what did you come up with? What were your top three tracks?
Yeah, and
one?
That's a good question, man. It was actually a bit of a challenge because there are some really good tracks. I hope people watching this don't think that we're not for this album. I do think On the Game is a particular, an absolute hit. The film clip is brilliant. I mean, that's just been released a day or so ago, and I absolutely enjoyed that. I would probably say my other favourite songs is a song featuring Beck, Paper Crown. I reckon that's an absolute cracker. And my last song is actually track 11, Fever Tree. I actually thought that was really good, especially when I was mentioning before that the last half of the album probably isn't as good, but this song in particular for me was a real highlight, mate. Do you have anything different there?
Well, look, I love On the Game, sort of very George Harrison-esque in terms of slow guitars, classic rock, the sort of early 70s leanings, and Dan Auerbach's vocals. You're feeling like it's little submarine territory there, so it gets into it. I love the film clip though, so you got to check out the film clip. If you do one thing after this, check out the film clip. It's very, very funny. I reckon it's almost the film clip of the year so far. But This Is Nowhere, I like the first song. This is a pretty much your standard, in my mind, Beck, Black Keys collaboration. This is where they're really mashing it up together. You hear the gritty bass, the guitars and the vocals, but you sprinkled with the Beck grooviness. So I really enjoyed that. And Don't Let Me Go is his second song. Yeah. It breaks into a very sort of a soulful type of chorus. I loved it. It sort of skipped along a lot. But as I said, I liked Fever Tree as well. Paper Crown was pretty cool. I Forgot to Be Your Lover, which is a William Bell cover from the 60s. Check out the original for that too. That's pretty awesome as well. Really enjoyed that as well. So, I mean, there are a number of songs here that were actually quite good to listen to, but you still come back with, is this by the numbers? Now, all in all, what does this mean, I guess, in terms of a rating? do you give this a higher rating, or is this really your, are we going to give this 3 stars? What did you come up
look,
with?
I came out with 3.5. Most critics have been pretty harsh on this album, actually giving it 3. I haven't seen many giving it more. I'm going to give it 3.5 just for the fact I think there's the standout singles off this album are probably better than the one previously. However, I would say it would be great if they didn't rush putting out albums, and if you had the combination of Dropout Boogie and a higher players, I mean, you're going to have an absolute monster of an album. So I don't know. I just think that this could have been executed a little bit better, maybe a little bit shorter, but for me it's 3.5, mate.
Yeah, it's 3 3/4, so that's 7.5 out of 10, but not quite the 4 stars. I think it's better than the previous one. I think we rated the previous one 3. I think that it's generally the right direction that they need to be going in. I think gone are the days where they just do the album themselves, so they do the predominant songwriters, the predominant players. Collaborations are the future for the Black Keys. It's going to depend really in future as to who the collaborators are. So the collaborators on the previous record, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top in the last one. It was more grittier, probably more roots, not as rootsy as the one before that, mind you. But I think that they do play very well where they have other collaborators, but they just needed to be mindful, I think, of maybe spending a little bit more time, so that the less is more attitude to things.
Definitely.
So that is our review of Ihoro Players by the Black Keys.